Welcome back to the Act2 Podcast, the podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Hugh.
And I am Josh Hallman.
And as a reminder, Act2 is a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter, which this podcast is one of the things we do. Thank you for joining us here. Please remember to subscribe to the podcast. That way you are updated on our upcoming topics. You get a little alert and you can say, yes, that sounds cool. I want to play it right now. Or no, that sounds stupid. Skip. But you can do that. You have that option.
Yeah, do a little jump ahead, 30 seconds, stop hearing our intro, or don't.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I always skip the intro as well. All right,
Great.
Give us a rating. You can write a comment as well. You can send us emails. You can do all the things. You can just do all of it. We're like a democracy or something.
Man, we got it all.
You can reach out to us at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com or on our Instagram and Twitter at ActTwoWriters. You can follow me at Story Thursday on Instagram or Tasha 3.0 on Twitter.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
Josh.
Hi.
Hi. Today we're doing what you suggested, which is a mid-year goal check-in.
Yeah.
Every year, guys, if you don't already know this, our very first episode in January is always a goals episode for the year. It's talking about how to create goals for yourself as a screenwriter that are practical, that you can actually achieve, what kind of goals make sense for a screenwriter, and then we personally give what our goals are for the year. And Josh and I have not looked back at what our goals were. We've not listened back to the episode. This is all live surprise as we go to see how well we have done with ourselves and if we need to start making changes from here on out so that we do accomplish some of these that we maybe have let linger.
Let me just pause.
Yeah.
Yesterday, before we go, I'm just making a very hard pivot.
Okay.
Even though we've talked about this, I just want to make this public. I saw Tasha spit fire yesterday. In person.
Guys, it was amazing. I turned to Paul after I blew fire and was like, I have just accomplished a childhood dream. And he's like, this was your childhood dream? I was like, well, when I was a kid watching Xena, she would always blow fire from a torch. And I was like, I wish I could do that. And then I did it. I actually had a torch too.
Yeah, you did it. I was saying to Tasha beforehand, Dave and I were a little nervous. Like a couple people did some fire breathing, fire blowing. And I was like, there's not a chance in hell I would ever do that. And then Tasha's like, I'm going. And then she blew fire. So anyway, we just had to talk about it because what a highlight.
It was pretty great.
Right before Tasha started, there was like this gust of wind that just kind of like was like pushing back towards her. And I think it was like only Dave and I were the ones who were like, is that a breeze? And it was like you could foresee what was going to happen, but it didn't happen. It was great. And you fought destiny and it
was the best.
Fire.
It was the best. Yeah.
Anyway.
I love that. I'm not going to give any further context for why I blew fire.
No, there's no context. Just know that it happened. Some other people did it. I did charades. It was great.
Josh tried to do charades for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Very difficult, by the way.
I'm shocked you even got one word in there. We guessed one word.
Paul, it was like fifth word once, and I was like, oh, they're gonna get it for sure. And then everyone's like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I was like, no, fifth word.
The only movies I could think of were movies that had once as the first word.
Just real quick, charades is really difficult because at some point you just want to stop. You're like, no one's getting it. And the chef was like, okay, we got about 30 seconds left until we have to move on. Anyway, it was a great time with no context, and that's all. So the goal check-in.
Yeah.
It's the summer. We're halfway through the year. There's maybe a little slowdown in everyone's spirit, their gut, their flow, maybe feeling a little exhausted. And that's why we're doing the goal check-ins. We're holding ourselves accountable, but also reminding everybody else to maybe hold yourself accountable as well, and just check where you are and see where, exactly what Tasha said beforehand.
Yeah, I think sometimes you can get sort of lost in the hurricane that is your life and be like, all right, I'm not achieving my goals. Oh, well, I guess we'll wait till next year. But no, friends, you don't have to wait till next year. Okay, I'm going to start with my first one.
Yeah.
write another movie because I miss writing movies.
Wow.
And guess what? I'm writing a movie with you. We both wrote half of it, and then you sent me the full script after you finished your last half, and I'm going through it one more pass, and then you'll go through it another pass. So I'm actively working on a new spec, not only a new movie, another spec with Josh, and yeah. So
1 for 1.
Yeah.
Which is perfect because I guess to tie into my first one is write a spec. Well, it was write the spec with Tasha, write a new movie. So that was it. Same thing. We are at the point where we're so close that if we don't do it, this might be the biggest failure of our lives.
We're not gonna not do it.
No,
it's impossible.
I know it's impossible.
I even teased her writers group last night that maybe it'll be at the next submission. Maybe.
I could see that.
That's ambitious, but maybe.
Maybe. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? So, all right. So not to completely just jump right off of mine, but back to you because that was it. That was my first one.
Okay, my second one was write a studio movie, which is totally not within my control. And in our goals episode, we talk about, okay, if you have a goal that's not within your control, how do you take steps this year to achieve it? But I'm gonna write a studio movie, sort of.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's not like one of the big. It's not like it's a different. I can't say who it is, but it's a studio movie by all.
Just a casual breaking news, no context drop. So the point is you you have accomplished 2 of 2.
2 of 2. Yes. Yeah, it was an open writing assignment. I pitched against other people, and it was the job that we talked about before that I won the job, quote unquote. It's a studio movie. 2 for 2.
Oh my God! All right, well then I'll start going to where I'm hitting my goals. This one was a little easier. I had a spec pilot that I was writing, and I finished it. I was like, finish this pilot, and I'm done with it. And I finished it, and then now since I finished it, all I've heard is how difficult it is for TV pilots. And so it's just kind of sitting there. And so one of the things, although I did finish it, is sitting in the world that I think I and myself and maybe you and a few other people are the only ones who like. And I feel very passionate about it. And I have a feeling this is something that's just going to sit in my life. And in like 2 years down the road, it's going to come back.
I think that's completely accurate. Especially because one of the comments was that there are a lot of other scripts out there right now. So, laying low until you can pounce, I think makes sense.
Mark my words, something in a couple years. In the next 10 years from right now. Yeah. No. But that's how I feel. I don't know. It's either nothing's going to happen or it's going to just be something that resurfaces in a couple years. But the point is I finished it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And it's your first TV thing too, so it's also huge. You really accomplished that goal as well. That was unnamed.
Thank you.
See more movies was my third one, and I referenced a friend of mine who sees at least one movie a week. So Paul and I, when we started the year, we were determined that every week we would see either a new episode of a TV show or a new movie. And we did so well for like months. And the last couple months, I got real busy, and we were unable to make that happen and just like let that slide. However, we have still seen a lot more than we typically do. So I think now that I'm refocusing, we can go back to doing that one. And sometimes we would get to Sunday night and we'd be like, oh shit, we haven't seen our movie. We have to sit down on the couch right now and watch something. Oh, we only have like a half hour. We'll watch a 30-minute show then. So I've seen a lot more stuff this year. It's been great.
That's actually really important, and that's good. I didn't know if it was see more movies in the theater, but no, it's just see more stuff in general.
Yes, but we've also seen more movies in theater as a consequence.
That's good. I have noticed that it is very easy to go back to the well of what you're comfortable with. For instance, like the other day I watched like Back to the Future again, only because I was like, you know what? I just want to lay down and just have something that makes me happy. And I didn't even want to like branch out to something new because I was in that mindset. So it is very easy to become complacent in the viewing habits, as silly as that may sound.
For sure.
Okay. I'm gonna now talk about where I know I'm gonna fail.
Okay.
Write a short story.
Whoa, really? I'd forgotten about that. Yeah.
I was high on the short story. I was feeling it.
Yeah.
I still kind of feeling it, but it's like fallen in my list of like, yeah, I don't really even think about it so much anymore. I'm not going to give up on it quite yet, only because I don't want to sound like a total failure.
Like, do you want to actively work towards it now that you've gotten your pilot, you're doing your movie? Like, is this the next thing you want to focus on? Because I know you also submitted an outline recently for a new movie.
Yeah.
Could you do both?
I could do both. I had an idea for the short story, which I feel like I kind of fell out of love with that idea. So I feel almost like I'm back at square one of like what would make sense as a short story.
I'm also gonna like pitch something that's out of the box, and you're not gonna like it.
Great.
But the outline that you sent, I could also see that being a short story. That
I don't dislike that.
No, because I know part of what you're struggling with was like, what are the like really cool set pieces of Act Two, and I know you also see it so clearly. So like, there's a version of that where you do like a really cool, tight, short story of that, sell that, and then someone pays you to actually like do it as a screenplay.
Tasha, I'm back on my short story. I wonder if I could do both. Could I write the short story and then write
100%? Because then if you sell it as a short story, then you're like, you could just take the money, take the 12 weeks that they give you, and be like, doop.
Here you go. Oh, I like that. That's actually brilliant. It's almost like working backwards.
Yeah. And it might give you new ideas for the script too. Yeah, I don't know. Okay.
All right. Now
that was not the reception of that idea I expected, but
no,
I'll take it.
I'm in. I'm staying optimistic. All right.
Ugh, okay. My ones starting into the ones I've not achieved. I want to try to get an overall deal. Because I just want to move my career forward and build a business off of what I'm doing rather than just like, you know, sort of like take paychecks as they come. I want to try something new. I want to produce things. I want to help other writers produce their ideas that I necessarily wouldn't write. So I'm trying to move that production company dream like forward. An overall deal can be helpful because it means the studio basically pays your overhead to get you started.
Yeah.
And I spoke with my agents in January and said, hey, this is what I want. They said, okay, the relationships that you have, the studios that you have a relationship with are Netflix and Amazon, because that's where my two shows are, Tomb Raider and Mighty Nine. And so we'll start pursuing them there and then, you know, start introducing you other places. But they did bring it up at both of those studios. And one of them was more receptive or like just already thinking about it, which was, I was like shocked by that, but very happy. And then it's stalled. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But that's a goal still.
I think that's going to happen. That's kind of like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
Yeah. So we've got 6 months. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I guess on that note, although that is, because in my goals, I had a few that are not fully in my control. That's how I actually labeled it. But I guess I don't want it. There was a couple meetings that I went on. One of the meetings that I was like, this is the company I wanted to meet with. And there's a couple outstanding that are kind of there. Just these are just people and places that I've wanted to meet, and just kind of these are like the goals where it would be the equivalent of being like, I'm going to sell a script, right? Like you're so like, okay, obviously that's not in your control. So what are the tasks to get there? But doing this is a reminder that I need to nudge the powers that be to make the meeting happen, because you know, I just kind of let it go.
Yeah, because also like meetings are uncomfortable and terrible and not something you actually want to do.
Yeah,
but that's something you know you have to do. And so when it's that,
it's so interesting because like at the beginning of the year, you're like, you know what? I want to meet with Bad Robot. I want to meet with this company, Amblin, whatever. And then like a couple months go by and you're like, oh, I guess it'll happen when it happens.
For sure.
So yeah, that was very, you know, nondescript, but I'm just kind of doing a little check-in saying there's a couple things that are out of my control and places I want to meet that I'm gonna get on top of.
Yeah, I think that's a good refocusing, because you never know what could come of that in the second half of the year too.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay. My next one is related to my very first one, which is finish a spec and take it to market. So I think we'll do that this year still. I'm hopeful that our script will be done and in a good enough shape to take out by the holidays.
It absolutely will.
Yeah. By the way, I pitched our movie idea last night to people, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so obvious. Oh my God, I really want to watch that movie."
I've done the same thing, and I've been met with the exact same response. That's how I know it's a good idea.
I hope we don't disappoint. Like, our expectations are going to be like really high.
Shit.
And no one's going to buy it. We're going to be like, what?
This is like, you know, when you write your very first spec and then you're like, this is the best thing ever. And then everyone reads and like, no. But I feel good about it. Let's just put it that way. I feel excited about it.
Me too.
I'm just happy with it.
Me too.
How many more do you have, by the way?
2.
2? I really only have 1 more.
Okay.
It was actually just spec related, and I'm on it. It's my spec idea that I'm currently on. This was another one that's in my control, and it was just basically as a big overall thing in 2024, which I think is happening. I was just kind of like, just keep like pushing forward at all times. Don't get bogged down by things, whatever. Just keep pushing forward. Always be working on something. So I've really tried to lean into that and make sure like there's always momentum moving forward, personally speaking, because if you don't do that, you're kind of find yourself in like a, what am I doing kind of rut. And it's very easy to get distracted by the universe of the entertainment industry. That's all to say, yeah, I'm working on this one other spec that you have read, that you just told me to turn into a short story.
Mm-hmm.
And pushing forward, man.
Okay. In your control, and you're doing it. So nothing to change there.
I don't think so.
Okay. So you've accomplished like all of your goals.
Well,
almost.
There's a bunch of not fully in my control ones that are on there that I'm just not talking about.
Oh.
Maybe I should.
I mean, did you talk about them back in January?
No.
Oh.
I danced around it like I'm doing right now.
All right. I guess they're just in your head stuff that you hope will happen.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So vague and mysterious.
I know. I'm not fucking around.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So my next one was rewrite Black Bell, which is my first ever, technically my second ever spec that I wrote. It's a bounty hunter in the Old West situation. Yeah. And I love the script. It's done its thing. It's gone around town. It got me a ton of meetings when I first started. People were really interested in it, but nobody wanted to make a Western. Nobody wanted to make a Western starring a woman. Nobody wanted to make a Western starring a woman who was biracial. So all these things were against it. And it got optioned by producers here and there. We had actors attached, directors attached, etc. But it's now dead.
It is?
Yeah. But it's one of those that could kick around, but it's pretty much dead. It's not even a sample you typically send out anymore. One of those reasons is I think I've become a much better writer. I know I've become a much better writer since I wrote this. Yeah. And so my manager was like, listen, this script is good. Like, the concept is really good. The emotions are all really good. The character stuff is great. What if you tackled that now with like all of the tools you now have in your tool chest as a writer? Yeah. And we try to rebrand it basically and take it out. And I think one of the notes I was always getting when it first started was it's episodic, because it's this bounty hunter assassin who takes on a job of killing, I think it's like 4 different men. And so it feels episodic because like there's the first guy, here's the second guy, and it is building towards something, but that was always a note I got back. And so one of her thoughts was like, is it a TV show? So one of my goals this year is to look back at it, read back through it, feel what I feel. Is it a TV show, or can I make this a killer movie now with the tools that I have, and try to rebrand it? And so I still do really want to do that. And I always think about it like every month. I'm like reminded in my head because it's not on my to-do list. So I think one of the things I should do is just start putting it back on my to-do list. And like the first to-do list should just be like reread Black Bell. And once I get that done, I think like the inspiration will start to take over and it'll build on itself.
That's interesting because you can write something years ago, then it's crazy how writing evolves, and something's a good idea, but you're still kind of figuring yourself out as a writer, and then something goes away, and then you come back to it, and you're like, oh, I know exactly how to tackle this now.
Totally. That's my hope anyways.
I think that's going to happen.
I'll put it back on my to-do list.
Freaking put the goals, man.
All right. Do I do my last one? Are you out of goals?
Go ahead and do the last one.
Okay. My last goal, which I've also sucked at, is read more books. I don't think I've read a single fucking book this year. I don't know how people last night were talking about all the books they're reading. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
How? When? What?
Yeah.
At what point in your day are you doing this?
I know. I think about that all the time. I met someone the other day who read a book in a day. She's like,
What?
yeah, I just sat down and I read a book. I finished it. I was like, what do you mean you finished it? How do you read that fast? I don't know. That's a tough one. I keep ordering books.
Me too. I love books. I love them
books
so
too.
much. What do I do? So,
Is this a nighttime?
well, see, when it's nighttime, though, all I want to do is go to sleep.
I know.
And reading doesn't help me wind down because I think I read as work. And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's really fun, but I read as work. So, like, I think it needs to be in the work time. Because, yes, I was going to say a friend of mine, he reads, like, the 10 minutes in bed before he goes to bed. I don't think that works for me. Because usually I'll get 2 pages in and I'm like...
Yeah, no, for sure.
So...
Yep.
Yeah. I don't
The
know.
other hard thing I feel like with books is now you read it and you're like, can I adapt this?
100%. That's the
No,
only thing
why-
I think of.
Why am I wasting my time?
Yeah.
That's tough. You're right, though, because screenwriters read all the time. That's what screenwriters do. Actually, on that note, one of my other goals was to read more scripts. I wanted to do 1 per week.
Whoa, that's ambitious.
Yeah, and then it's just, it hasn't happened.
Yeah. Have you read more scripts than you normally do?
I have,
Okay.
but not as much as I would like. Like I wish I had, like sometimes I'll just go into old blacklist scripts and just be like, oh, I'll just read this one.
Yeah.
See it. It's so helpful, always.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe a little more. I gotta pick that up. Read more.
Put it on your list, your to-do list. Read script.
It's already there.
Maybe it's about figuring out like when is the best time for us to read something. And I think it is like scheduling a meeting almost like in the middle of the day around lunchtime. Or maybe like for your lunch, you're like reading something. Even if it's just like read for 10 minutes.
Yeah. Then you can become that person who's like, I just read this great book.
I haven't been able to say that in so long.
Oh, God, I just read this chapter.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so that's it. That's our goal update.
That's our goal update. So we have work to do, but I think we've also done a pretty good job at keeping at it.
Keeping at it. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Quote of the day. You can't fix a bad script after you start shooting. The problems on the page only get bigger as they move to the big screen. Howard Hawks.
Nice.
Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Josh Hallman on Instagram, Joshua Hallman on Twitter.
And as always, the Act 2 podcast is a production of Act 2, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.